All right, we're going to move on to 4.0, the superintendent report. I'm going to hand it off to you.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. It is wonderful to have the opportunity to address our beloved community tonight. I want to first start off by acknowledging that for any of our members of our PSD community or around the world who are celebrating Passover, I just want to wish all of you a happy Passover. And I just have to acknowledge that Muhammad and Alex are a really tough act to follow. They are unforgettable human beings, which remind us so eloquently of the reason why we do this work and that we prioritize our students in trying to figure out how we can continue to offer so many amazing programs to students like Alex and Muhammad and their peers across the district. I want to thank many members of the board who have spent some of their time this week getting out into schools, interacting with students, interacting with teachers, and interacting with principals. I've had opportunities, whether it's with Mr. Duffy, Mr. Schoenbauer, or Ms. Draper, to get out to schools like Beatty Elementary, McGraw Elementary, Olander Elementary, and Fossil Ridge High School. And having these opportunities to connect with members of our community in the midst and the context of some really hard collaboration and decision-making processes that are ongoing, it does give us a firsthand opportunity to empathize and understand the realities of what many of our employees and members of our community are going through, but also what they're also advocating for, which is incredible high-quality programming. I also want to say to members of the community that came out to Poudre High School to our Board of Education's listening session last week, thank you. To have the opportunity to sit and listen to how people were feeling and experiencing potential changes is no easy task, but we were here for that, and I think I walked away not only understanding the emotions that are involved with the potential scenarios that are starting to be communicated across our community, but just how much people are advocating to keep what we have, which is strong, high-quality schools in every one of our neighborhoods. I think as I continue to engage across the community in various types of different listening sessions, what has become abundantly clear, in my opinion, is that what makes PSD such an incredibly strong district and unique and meaningful to this community is that we offer robust, personalized learning experiences for all of our children at every single one of our schools. Not some, not the majority, but at every single one of our schools. And it reminds me of the luxury of those choices and how lucky we are to have such a strong school system where regardless of where you live, you have access to a high-quality education. For many members of our community, access to that high-quality education is right in their backyard, right in their neighborhood. And they have the luxury of not just walking to school, but taking advantage of the incredible school facilities and its assets after school and on the weekends. We also recognize that we have many high-demand choice schools and choice offerings that in most instances are in such popular demand that they have waiting lists. How lucky are we? We also recognize that while we may be struggling with declining enrollment, we offer large schools, moderately sized schools, and small schools that in the event that a student and their family doesn't experience high-quality success at any one of those schools, there is another secondary, in some instances a tertiary option that allows us to make sure we don't walk away from investing in a human being that lives in this community. I think that's what makes us special. In fact, one of our district ends outlines that as what we call above and beyond. It is not this school system that provides that, it's the human beings that bring those schools to life. There's magic that's happening in our schools where we are ensuring that all of our staff are taking care of all of our children every single day. And to be honest, I know that I'm incredibly biased as the superintendent of PSD, but I'm not really sure that you will find this level of quality of a school system anywhere else in this state. I say that boldly. I say it not just in terms of from a qualitative sense, but I think we have the data to back it up, both in terms of high academic success and some life-saving improvements that I'm really proud to talk about. Over the course of the last month, just in this boardroom, we've talked through the lens of our monitoring report. Dr. Dwayne Schmitz has given a midnight presentation on 2 different instances about how we are faring in terms of student outcomes. I want to share with you proudly that currently today we have about 87% of our students graduating on time, which is the highest that this system has achieved in more than a decade, and the second highest in 2 years. I'm really proud that as we talk about the different types of investments and whether these investments are worth it and is it the right time right now, there are questions that are coming up organically throughout the course of the system. Should we have invested in high quality literacy instructional materials over the past 2 years? And I'm really proud, not as a result of the curriculum, but as a result of the magic that teachers have used with their time, with their energy, and the investment of bringing that curriculum to life. From fall to winter, we have seen an advancement in our literacy scores over 13%. On average, we see about a 3 to 5% increase from fall to winter. This year, we saw 13% when we should expect an implementation dip. It is no secret that across the Front Range, not only are our graduates graduating with high marks, but our diploma has integrity. Many of our high school graduates who go on to pursue 2 or 4 year degrees are experiencing some of the highest first-year GPAs in their college experience and some of the highest persistent rates across the Front Range. And thousands of those students have already graduated high school with college courses for free in the bank. And many of those students, over 1,000, are also experiencing work-based learning experiences. Just last year alone, 1,100 students experienced work-based learning in our district. Our district in our strategic plan has 3 fundamental priorities: literacy, ensuring students graduate with options, and then we ensure not some but all students feel that their mental health is tended to and that they all feel like they belong. And we've made investments in that space, and I shared some of the academic achievements, but I want to share some of the life-saving achievements that I'm very proud to talk about. And these achievements belong to this entire community. It's families and their trust. It's families who are willing to be vulnerable and talk about some of their life circumstances that they may be going through that may be impacting their children. It is nonprofits and other behavioral and social and emotional partners who are in our community who are coming alongside of us to extend the number of people that are trying to provide different types of level of care to the human beings, which are our children, our young adults in our community. And as people are in our schools, from our mental health specialists, our social workers, our school counselors, our principals and assistant principals, our teachers, our bus drivers, I can go on and on. Every single employee in this district has a part of these results. But our students in the past 2 years are self-reporting at the secondary level that 36% of them have decreased in the number of students planning a suicide attempt. A 36% reduction in 2 years. That's life-saving. In this community, our students are reporting a 42% decrease in the number of students who are wanting to hurt themselves without wanting to die in the past 12 months. 80% of our students, 4 out of 5, not only can tell you that if they have a problem, but they have a trusted adult to confide in to help solve that problem. We have seen a decrease in the number of students over the past year who have attempted suicide. Students are reporting a 41% decrease in the number of students who feel sad or hopeless. There is a 48% decrease in the number of students who have seriously considered attempting suicide over the past 2 years. The work is not finished, not academically, not from a space of belonging, but there's a lot to be proud of. And as I listen to members of our community talk about the challenges that we are all grappling with, I believe what's at the center is we're all fighting to ensure that our children continue to be seen, that our children continue to be successful. And I'm very proud of that. One of the greatest experiences that I have every single year is having a chance in partnership with this community is attending our graduation ceremonies. And I've made it a point of pride to never give the same graduation speech twice. And my secret to doing that is I meet with seniors and I ask them to tell me about their experiences. Tell me what makes their school special. Some of them have been in multiple schools in PSD, and they can tell that story, and they realize that we've been able, in partnership with many members of our school district, to help find ways for them to achieve success. But the question that I centered my conversation with them on this year is, what's their legacy? How will their graduating class be remembered? And as I continue to engage with the community, I want us as a governance team, as a school district, to continue to ask ourselves that very same question. Did we have the courage to do what was necessary to sustain the high-quality program, not just today, not just for next year, but for the future generations of PSD, so they receive an above and beyond experience, just like our students are today, and not a fraction of that? How do we collectively have the courage to identify efficiencies across this system, not just in our schools, that lead to ensuring that all of our students are continuing to receive the same level of connection and academic excellence? A conversation that is really unsettling, this work is really hard, is people are not seeing significant financial savings in school consolidations and closure. And I think from a messaging standpoint, we need to do a better job of the health that is actually breathed into its neighboring schools as a result of us not having a scarcity of resources, but an abundance of resources. We've talked courageously across this community about a size factor adjustment for schools that have a declining enrollment that today is about $6.6 million, and tomorrow is most likely to be at least $7 million. That dollar amount could very well be invested in other schools to have a more robust set of resources, more elective teachers, more counselors, more mental health specialists, more instructional literacy coaches, more assistant principals. We are spreading our resources so thin that in some instances they're on life support. So I want to challenge us that this conversation that we're having today, every day across the community and on weekends, is not trying to find money in school closures. It's trying to ensure that all of our schools are sustainable and vibrant for decades to come, and realizing there are policy and process decisions that if we don't make, those things are not at risk in the future, they're at risk now. Mr. Duffy and I sat in Olander Elementary School after school yesterday. That school is a 2-track school, which means there are 2 classes for every grade level. There is not an elective teacher, I believe, at Olander Elementary today that is at a 100% contract. That's not sustainable. And it's not because Olander isn't amazing. It is an amazing school. But trying to figure out how do we breathe health into all of our schools like Olander so elective teachers aren't having to make a choice of whether they go work in a neighboring school district or stay here. There has been lots of thoughtful questions around the integrity of our data, and whether none of us have a magic ball to know what the future holds in terms of our demographics and our enrollment. None of us. But what I can tell you is I'd like for us to recenter our problem in acknowledging that we have over 3,000 empty seats across every one of our elementary schools today. That we have across every one of our middle schools about 2,500 empty seats today. When you look at our high schools, our middle school high schools, and our K-12 comprehensive schools, we have approximately another 2,500 empty seats today. Now, whether our enrollment declines by 10% in the next 5 years, or 4%, or 1%, the problem is at our doorstep and it is impacting our people. And another data point that I want to share with you, members of the board and members of the community, is that this time last year, and we all know that we have about 500 students less in our kindergarten class today than the number that we're about to shake hands graduating as seniors. Last year, at this point in time, we had 1,798 kindergartners enrolled in PSD schools for this current school year. As of today, going into next year, we have 1,206. Now, I don't want to create any conspiracies. We may all be wondering, are those people just waiting to see what happens with some of these decisions? Maybe. I don't know if that's 500 families waiting on those particular things. I share that data point not to be an alarmist, but to recognize that we do have an experience or continuing to experience declining enrollment at an alarming rate, and it will require us to be bold and take courageous action. And I want to just, in close, acknowledge that what makes all of this even more difficult, even more challenging, is that when there are misconceptions introduced that may, in some instances, all become rumors, and they begin to gain traction, not really understanding what's real and what's not real. And I want to take a brief moment, if it's okay with members of the board, to address a couple of those misconceptions. One of those misconceptions is my personal and professional involvement with a bipartisan nonprofit organization named Chiefs for Change. Chiefs for Change is a network for superintendents and aspiring superintendents that I'm incredibly proud that I was recruited to be a part of 4 years ago as a result of having professional executive experiences in 3 of the largest metropolitan school districts in America. We focus on conversations as a network of superintendents focused on safety, ensuring all students have access to a high-quality education. We spend lots of time talking about teacher preparation, high-quality instructional materials, career and technical education opportunities, and today, as I collaborate with members of that network quarterly, we're very focused on artificial intelligence and the future implications that it has on school district policy, process, and ways of work. I enjoy being a part of a network of superintendents because in this district, I'm the only superintendent. And I believe that you have charged me as my 7 supervisors to continue to benchmark this district across other districts across the country, to make sure that we're learning about best practice, to make sure that we're incredibly efficient with our resources, and we learn from other people's mistakes. I continue to do that. I want to make abundantly clear that I make absolutely no pledges or promises to Chiefs for Change for my work in PSD. I want to be super clear that I am not paid by any organization like Chiefs for Change. The only paycheck that I receive, and I'm proud of this, is from PSD. And I also want to acknowledge that our district, as a member of PSD 2 years ago, was awarded approximately $167,000 from that organization for a grant to help improve our safety processes in this district, leveraging technologies and working with other school districts to see from a policy standpoint what measures can we be taken, knowing every single year there are casualties and mass tragedies that exist across school systems. What can we be doing to optimize our processes and our way of that work? We realized after 2 years of participating with that grant that we didn't learn what we thought we were going to, and so we walked away from the grant opportunity. But I want to be really clear, money that came in from this school system from Chiefs for Change was to participate in that effort, and that money then went back out into the system with a technology company called Eagle Eye Ed. And 7 of our schools, I believe, participated in that pilot, and I'm grateful for the principals and assistant principals who stepped outside of the box to try to figure out how to leverage those technologies in new and innovative ways. A part of, and I'm going to go to a secondary misconception, and I promise this will be the last one that I'll address this evening, is that many people believe that as a result of my membership of Chiefs for Change is that I am also an advocate for expanding charter schools. I have said in this boardroom before that I am a pro-charter advocate, which I believe as a superintendent of 54 schools, 5 which are district-sponsored charter schools, I should be an advocate for not just some schools, but all. Being pro-charter does not mean you're anti-traditional public school, so I want to be very clear about that. And my association with Chiefs for Change also includes colleagues from our superintendent in Boulder Valley, our superintendent in Greeley, our current commissioner of CDE, and our former commissioner of CDE. We are not secretly conspiring to try to figure out how to charterize the state of Colorado. In fact, I want you to be very clear with my intentions, and this would be a board-level decision, but it is not my intentions to offload any of our properties to charter schools. In fact, we have a tremendous amount of internal need for facilities. In fact, we have a school less than a half a mile down the road, PCA, that deserves a facility upgrade. And if we're not considering prioritizing that in that process, that would be, in my opinion, respectfully, a mistake. We have transition programs for some of our marginalized students who are working on workforce development skills, who are housed in a facility outside of Rocky Mountain High School that is not fit for those students, or for any students for that matter. And so prioritizing space for those students should be a priority. We have early childhood development needs. We have transition pathway needs. We have professional development needs. The expansion of our career and technical education and the expansion of the trades is going to require us to be incredibly thoughtful around how we use our facilities moving forward, and would be my intent for any facility that becomes available for us to consider as a governance team prioritizing our internal needs to not exacerbate an enrollment issue with other types of schools. So I want to be fundamentally clear about that. The issues that we're grappling, and I'll say this in closing, are both emotional, and we're trying to find logic and reason. And I believe wisdom lies at the center. And wherever you are in that continuum, please know that it's okay. I live on that continuum every single day, and I'm trying to find myself in center myself of trying to find wisdom in what we're hearing, trying to find wisdom in what we're learning from each other. And I really believe that there's a bright future for this district because we do want to seek wisdom together. We do want to build hard solutions that are necessary to ensure that our programs and schools are sustainable in the future together. And I'm excited that as a member of this district that we're going to have a very thoughtful conversation around that tonight. So thank you.